Okay, guys, welcome back to the Clinical Trials Guru. This is going to be really quick for you RNs out there, registered nurses, right? Preferably BSN, RN. It has never been a better time. It really hasn't been a better time for anybody to get into clinical research, but especially if you're an RN, there's actually unique positions just for you. So first of all, I tell every single RN that calls me about the CRA Academy that I am extremely bullish on their chances to become a CRA within 3 months of taking our course. For everyone else, if you're not an RN, I usually say about 6 months, and I usually tell them that if you're not an RN, your first job's probably not going to be a CRA. It's probably going to be an in-house CRA or a clinical trial manager or a remote site monitor, which you've seen me interview former students who have gotten these positions, and I'm going to continue. I have another interview coming up soon, I think next week, with another student who got hired. But if you're an RN, and we always have at least one RN student, on average we have one RN student in every CRA Academy class. There are, and this is not a video about the CRA Academy, although if you're interested, links there in the show notes. We're enrolling now for January class. But this is just if you're a registered nurse looking to get into clinical research. Yes, you do need a little bit of research experience, which you can get through the CRA Academy. But did you know that there are unique positions out there that companies are hiring for? I saw one today on ZipRecruiter by IQVIA, which is the biggest CRO out there. And it's for a position called Clinical Trial Educator. And these positions have actually existed in research. I remember the first time I've interacted with a clinical trial educator, a CTE, was in 2015. I was at a site doing a study, and the CTE came, and it was actually from this company, IQVIA. The CTE came, helped us look through our database, helped us work through some of the practical issues that go into recruiting patients for a study. So CTEs really, they're usually RNs. I mean, they would like to get MDs or other kind of healthcare providers, but RNs are usually the ones that get these positions. There are RNs, registered nurses, that are supposed to help the sites that are participating in the studies enroll patients. Did you know that it cost a CRO, ultimately a sponsor, it cost the sponsor about $50,000 to activate one site, just one site, for an average clinical trial? Did you also know that as of a 2017 study, 25 to 30% of sites in a study never enroll a single patient? So sponsors are actually losing money on sites that don't enroll patients. And so CTE was a position that some of the bigger CROs adopted to kind of combat this and to kind of help all sites, not just the low enrollers or the ones that are having problems, but certainly they're going to get involved with those. But they help them not just mine their own database, but they help find what the issues are. So why aren't these patients from the database getting pre-screened? Who's not discussing the study opportunities with them? Because most patients would actually consider a clinical trial. It's just they're not aware of them. And most physicians in the community, the same thing, right? They would refer a patient if they understood that the research site, number one, is not interested in stealing their patients, because that's not the case. Research sites are not in the business of stealing other healthcare providers' patients. They're in the business of doing clinical research, right? So that's one of the biggest fears of healthcare practitioners in the community is that, hey, why would I refer my patient? There's nothing in it for me, etc. So CTEs, and this is why it's helpful to be an RN, they can discuss the nuances of the protocol, the science, as much as they can, of the study with the healthcare provider, and they can get them past their barriers, past their objections of why they should refer patients, or why should they consider actually referring patients to the clinical trial center near them. Now, a lot of these jobs are going to have in the job description say that you must have some kind of clinical research background. Don't let that stop you, because the hardest part is to be an RN. It's not to have the clinical research background. Like I said, the RN students who do my CRA Academy, they get hired like that. So apply, because the RN is the rate determining step. That's the limiting step. It's not the research experience. It's not so difficult to train you on one protocol. As a CTE, clinical trial educator, you're probably going to start with just one protocol anyways. After you do that protocol, guess what? You're no longer research naive. So I wouldn't let that stop you. But if you want to improve your chances, of course, there are classes like mine, CRA Academy, that can help you out. So that's one way for RNs to get in. Another way is CROs are actually hiring entry-level RNs. They often will make exceptions for no research experience for RNs. If you are a practicing RN and you want to get into clinical research, especially if you have experience in whatever therapeutic indication that they're hiring for at that point in time. So that's another good way for you if you're an RN and you want to get into research, you can go that route. Another route is to go at the site route. You can go at the clinical research site. So there's research sites that do studies all around the country. You can be a coordinator if you are at a larger academic institution. Usually they'll hire registered nurses to be the coordinators. Or if it's a smaller site, you can actually be a sub-investigator. And even at the bigger sites, you could be a sub-investigator. But I would recommend, if you can, get the experience at the smaller site, because you're going to end up doing more tasks, have more responsibilities, and as a result, get more skills on your resume, which can only translate into getting hired as a CRA quicker. So those are the options for you. If you're an RN, you are lucky. Clinical trial educator, CTE, directly CRA, or CRC/sub-investigator. And that is what I would do if I were an RN. If you really want to pour gasoline on the fire, like I said, join my CRA Academy, because we offer breast cancer oncology. At the moment, we're offering breast cancer oncology internship experience to all of our graduates. You're going to actually have a real breast cancer study on your resume. But these are the ways to do it. Good luck. Now is the time for RNs to get into research.